What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back. Sorry guys, I got a little choked up for a second. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode is a very intriguing one because it is on Hidden Arsenal 3 and the introduction to a very intriguing format known as Tengu Plant. Now you guys are probably wondering, what the fuck is Tengu Plant? Tengu Plant is the name of a deck that was used back in October that was released, that was around October 2010 of sorts. It's interesting because Tengu Plant was a very unique format because as we were getting out of Edison format, we entered a format where a lot of the cards back in Edison format was not as playable as they were back in Edison format because of the fact that a lot of the cards in that era ended up getting either errated or banned immediately after Edison format came around. Once we got into the end of 2010 and the beginning of 2011, we enter Hidden Arsenal 3, which was released which was released on December 7th, 2010. This set gave us Fabled cards for Fabled, Jurax, Naturia, Argenex, Ice Barrier, Worms, Dragonides, and also a card that was pretty viable back in the day, known as Ally of Justice Decisive Armor, which nowadays is still good, but it can also be used. But you can actually summon it off of Waking the Dragon, which is pretty crazy. Now during the time of Hidden Arsenal 3, there was a tournament that was around at this time known as the Yu-Gi-Oh! Asia Championship Plus 2010. It took place on December 12th, 2010 in Hong Kong, and the format consisted of several things. The first one was a 3v3 team tournament with a shared card pool. It also featured as well two groups of 4 teams each. So Group A had Thailand, had duelists from Thailand, Malaysia, Macau, I believe I probably butchered that, and South Korea. Group B had Hong Kong, Singapore, the Philippines, and Taiwan. It's interesting because each group was playing multiple different decks. So when you look at I believe South Korea, which the team actually got 4th place in that tournament, they were running 6 Samurai, Quick Draw Dandy Warrior, which was not it wasn't as like competitive as it was back in Edison format, but it was still a really broken deck, and also Blackwing as well. A lot of the decks were either 6 Samurai, Blackwing, or Quick Draw Dandy Warrior. Those were like the 3 most used decks in that whole format, and the tournament actually ended up being Malaysia, if I remember right. Yeah. So Malaysia ended up winning that tournament, and there were several decks, and the decks from that moment, as I said, 6 Samurai, Blackwing, Quick Draw, Dandy Warrior, all of which I believe were not using any of the cards that were in Hidden Arsenal 3, only because of the fact that Hidden Arsenal 3, it wasn't as meta-defined as it was with Hidden Arsenal 4, which we will get to in next week's episode, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But there were a few cards in here that were still that were good, but were never good when they were released in their prime. So I'm going to go through the card by card just to show you guys, what these cards were about. So first up, going in numerical order, we have Fabled Orustos, Fabled Cruz, Fabled Toppy, Fabled Sulcius, Fabled Mistoji, Jirac Terra, Jirac Iguanon, Jirac Brachys, Jirac Spinos, Naturia Dragonfly, Naturia Sunflower, Naturia Cliff, Naturia Tulip, Argenix Turbo, Argenix Overseer, Argenix Crusher, Argenix Magma, Shock Troops of the Ice Barrier, Samurai of the Ice Barrier, Dark of the Ice Barrier, Caravan of the Ice Barrier, Worm Solid, Worm Tentacles, Worm Ugly. Literally, that's the name of the card, Worm Ugly. I guess the worm must be ugly. Who knows? Who knew? Of course, no shaming here. No shaming here, guys. Trust me. Worm Victory, Fabled Leviathan, Jirac Velfito. I probably butchered that one as well. Naturia Barkion. That was like there was actually a few others that were good, but not until we got other like new support for that. But yeah, Locomotion, Argenix, Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, Dragoonity Dukes, Dragoonity Legionnaire, Dragoonity Trebus, Dragoonity Darkspear, Dragoonity Phalanx, Fabled Deef. I probably butchered that one. DYF. That's literally it's how it's spelled. Fabled Ashenvale, Fabled Ultro, Jirac Titano, Jirac Guaiba, Jirac Storico, Naturia Horn Needle, Naturia Fruit Fly, Naturia Hydragia, Argenix Accelerator, Argenix Oracle, Argenix Ultimum, Spellbreaker of the Ice Barrier, General Grunnerd of the Ice Barrier, Allied Justice Omni Weapon, Allied Justice Quarantine, Allied Justice Cycle Reader, Worm Warlord, Worm Zex, XEX. Literally, that's how it's spelled. I don't know. Worm Yagan, Worm Zero, Dragoonity Unite Gaybolg, Fabled Ragin, Vindicate Argenix, and Allied Justice Decisive Armor. Now, out of all these cards, there were only a few cards that were good, but they didn't become meta until we got new support for them. And one of the biggest cards was Naturia Barkion. That it was absolutely insane. It was a pretty broken card. Now it did get several erratas during the time that this card was released. It actually got a current one errata, and the original effect of Naturia Barkion said while this card is face up on the field, you can remove from play 2 cards in your graveyard to negate the activation of a trap card and destroy. The current effect says during either player's turn, when a trap card is activated, you can banish 2 cards from your grave, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So it made it so the it wasn't as confusing as it was when it was released. So that was the whole point of Konami giving it an errata. And it was it's still pretty pricey nowadays. You don't see it that often in today's meta, but it was pretty crazy back then. Pretty crazy being able to just negate a shark card with a synchro is just absolutely insane. Another card that got errata but also became pretty decent back in the day was Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, which is interesting because as I said before, Tengu format had went on for a while actually, and actually, I take that back. I apologize. Glad Beasts. We had entered. It was in Glad Beast format. Sorry, I apologize. My mind went blank. My mind went blank for a second. Glad Beast format, which is kind of interesting because Glad Beast. I was thinking way ahead. I was thinking way ahead with I was thinking way ahead. Way ahead. I apologize. I'm like really stupid right now. I apologize, guys. But yeah, Glad Beast format it was kind of interesting. Kind of an interesting format because as I said, Glad Beast format lasted literally from October 2010 to, I believe, literally it started in October 20, or rather in July 2010, and by the time we got into October 2011, that was when we got into Tengu Plant format, which Tengu Plant was really crazy, as was Glad Beast. Glad Beast became extremely viable once we got the new support, but there were a few cards in that format that were really viable. As I said before, Notoria Barkion was one of them, as was this one, Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and the original effect for Gungnir. It ended up getting two separate erratas. The first errata said, once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards to the graveyard to select the same number of cards your opponent controls, destroy the selected cards. The first errata said once per turn you can discard up to 2 cards to the graveyard. Sorry guys, there's a racer out there who thinks he's gonna race everybody in the world. So as I was saying, once per turn you can discard up to 2 cards to the grave to target the same number of cards your opponent controls, destroy them. Now the current errata says once per turn you can discard up to 2 cards to the grave, then target the same number of cards your opponent controls, destroy them. It made it, again, as I said before, it made it so it could be less confusing because there were multiple rulings with Gungnir. There were so many things that could go wrong with this card, and one of the biggest rulings is that if the effect of Gungnir targets two cards and one of the cards is not on the field upon resolution, then the remaining card on the field is still destroyed, even though the other card cannot be destroyed. So for instance, for example, let's say you activate the effect of Gungnir, you ditch 2 cards from your hand to the grave, and you target, I'll say a set, back row, and a monster, right? That monster, if that monster has an effect where it can bounce itself back to the hand, that card won't get destroyed because it went back to the hand. Instead, the targeted back row goes to the graveyard, which that was something that was one thing that a lot of people had not realized was the fact that if was that the card itself at the time became really good. It became so good back then, but over time when we got to sets like Hidden Arsenal 4 and some of the other 5D sets, Gungnir just became a thing of the past, and people forgot about it. But once we got the Ice Mirror Destruction, this past year, Gungnir, in a way, became pretty good. Obviously, there was also Dragoonie Ducks and Legionnaire. Those were like the main combo pieces, and as well as Darkspear and Phalanx. They were like the main combo pieces for the full combo in a Dragoonie based deck, especially if it was a pure build. Especially if it was a pure build in conjunction with Apex Avian, those cards were really, really good. Vindicate Argenix was another one that kind of, Dragoonie Knight Gay Bulk was another one that was like really good back then, but it's not as good now as it was back then, and I'll explain why. Because it ends up getting two separate erratas, and the first... Okay, can I not? I guess not. Guess I can't... I guess not. I guess I'm not allowed to look at the cards. Oh well. I guess not. Oh well. Let me go back, because apparently I can't look at the... Well, it did get a couple of erratas, and the current effect from off of Hidden Arsenal 3 said if this card attacks or is attacked during the damage step, you can remove from play one only Winged Beast type monster from your grave to have this card gain the attack of that monster until the end phase. So it's kind of like a it's kind of like a really bad acts of despair, I guess. But yeah, that was it was good back then, especially with the whole Phalanx Ducks combos. But nowadays you don't even see that anymore. I think Gay Durg is like the only one you see, but Vindicate Argenix was another really interesting one, because I wonder if this did get an errata where I can actually read the damn thing. No, it did not. It did not. Did it get an errata? No, it did not. It actually did not get an errata. That's kind of crazy. So the effect of Vindicate Argenix says your opponent cannot select this card as an attack target. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add one Gen X monster from your deck to your hand. Funny enough, it was basically a Rhoda for the Argenix deck if you were running it. Plus, you were mostly running this card because of the fact that it was a 2400 beater on board. Literally. It was a 2400 beater. You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that. But another one that became extremely good was Ally of Justice Decisive Armor, a 10-star Dark Machine Synchro with 3300 attack and defense. And it was pretty hard to make back then. Nowadays, it's easy. You use Waking the Dragon, but the effect says once per turn, if your opponent controls a face of light monster or monsters, you can activate one of these effects. Select one card your opponent controls and destroy it. Simple. Plain and simple. Send one card from your hand to the grave to destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Send all cards in your hand to the grave to look at your opponent's hand. And send all light monsters in their hand to the grave that inflict damage to your opponent equal to the total attack of the monsters sent to the graveyard. So this was basically one of the best win conditions for any deck that would play okay, what's going on? Hang on, guys. Oh, there we go. That would play Allied Justice, that would play Decisive Armor, and it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. Now, as far as Glad Beasts go, there was one deck in particular that actually caught my eye. I'm actually going to look it up. Is this the one? No. There was a Gladiator Beast deck that had won a YCS at the time. I want to see if there was a YC yet. I want to see about something. I'm trying to... There were so many decks, at the time, I don't remember, I can't, I guess not, oh well. Oh well, I tried, but yeah, so Glad Beast format became extremely crazy back then, with the fact that we got new support for them, in multiple sets, which included, I think... I want to say... I'm trying to think. Was it Star Strike Blast? It's been a while, but I think so. I think so. I don't remember much, because obviously, as I said, I gave up. I left the game during the time of during the time that we were gonna go into Teledath format. So I don't remember much, but yeah. So again, Allied Justice became really good back then. Even now, it's still pretty good. But it's interesting because one thing that made this card so unique was the fact that a card like Eccentric Boy, if you guys remember Eccentric Boy, you cannot use it as a tuner to summon Decisive Armor because of the fact that the other material monster has to be a monster in your hand, and this card required 2 non-tuner monsters. So yeah, that was one of the TCG rulings from back in the day. Nowadays, it's like it's like nowadays it doesn't matter much because again, you can use Waking the Dragon to summon it, which is just insane. But yeah, so Hidden Arsenal 3, not the best. It wasn't the greatest, but still it was a pretty interesting set. But nowadays, given the fact that we got the Dragunity I think we're getting a Dragunity structure deck pretty soon. I don't know. I don't remember. But with that, with the Expeditor structure deck, and with Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1 coming up next year, a lot of these cards are going to be extremely good. They're going to be extremely good. Are going to be extremely hard to pull. Decisive Armor is going to be one of them, which I'm going to be getting my hands on those once we get chapter 1. But yeah, I'm actually excited for it. But that brings me to the question of the day: what deck were you playing during Glad Beast format in 2010? Let me know in the comments below, and that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which gets posted every Friday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.